tell you a story about a guy named John. Now, John is one of us, obsessed with knives, hanks, pens, and all the gear that we all throw in our pockets on a daily basis. But simply buying and using other people's knives wasn't enough for John. So he started tweaking and improving existing designs, like the Slenderman OTF, and has done so under his brand EMPEDC, or Every Man's Pocket Everyday Carry. I reviewed the Slenderman, and I loved it. Check out that video if you haven't already. But even that wasn't enough to quench John's mighty creative thirst. He needed more. He needed a knife that he could truly call his own, one designed from the ground up to be everything he wanted a knife to be. And well, I'm here to tell you that dream, well, it's no longer a dream. The wait is finally over. And the knife that John has been toiling away on for months and months and months is finally here. And it is just as good as I hoped it would be. This is the EMPEDC Nimble, my most anticipated knife of 2021, and the first knife I've ever pre-ordered. This magnificent looking full titanium frame lock folder was designed by our man John, and to my surprise manufactured to some insanely impressive standards by the fine folks at QSP. Now, this is not a big knife by any means. Opened up, tip to tail, it's just coming in right at 7 inches long overall, and that beautiful built satin finished M390 slicer at the business end is coming in at a reasonable 3 inches long, with about 2.5 inches of cutting edge. And thanks to some serious internal milling, it's good and light, and a breeze to carry. The pocket clip is this wild and kind of chonky piece of milled titanium that has been anodized blue to match all of the hardware on this variant, and in pictures, I had feared that the clip might be a shortfall. But I've been pleasantly surprised by how well this clip does its job. Easy in and out of the pocket, holds on nice and secure, and it looks pretty good to boot. Now, as I said before, all of the hardware on this variant has been anodized blue, and the raw titanium paired with the nice blue accents, it's a good look. We've got this nice looking polished titanium backspacer that's also been anodized blue to keep the piece balanced in hand, and if this layout isn't exactly your style, the Nimble here is also available with some buck wild looking black frag pattern titanium scales and a brassy bronzy clip and hardware set. Oh, and if you're feeling frisky, EMPEDC also has some insanely gorgeous Mokutai clip and hardware sets available if you want to really spice things up. The blade again is this beautifully done piece of M390 rocking a stunning belt satin finish. We've got nicely shaped oversized deployment slots to get your flick on, some nice and comfy jimping along the spine that eventually meets a also nice looking swedge towards the tip. And of course, it's hard to miss that big finger choil. All in all, the looks for me were never in question. As soon as I saw this piece, I knew I needed it. Simple, clean aesthetics paired with some colorful accents. It's elegantly simple without being boring. And that to me, well, it's a big win in the looks department. Now then, let's get down to the meat and potatoes of this beauty. The ergos here are truly wonderful. Again, going back to that big chunky clip, I had concerns that it might be a bother in the hand, but boy was I wrong. It just disappears in the palm, and thanks to the heavy chamfering all around the handles, it feels rounded, almost contoured in the hand. We've got nicely sculpted ergonomic lines that lock the fingers in just the right place every single time, and that big finger choil lets you get nice and cozied up behind the cutting edge. So you have all the control you will ever need. The jimping along the blade spine is nice and comfy, offering a solid amount of grip in use without shredding the skin off your fingertips. And all in all, everything here is so well knocked down, so well finished that I can't find an uncomfortable way to hold it. There is one edge on the entire knife that has not been knocked down, however, and it's where the swedge meets the blade spine. Luckily, it's so far out of the way that you'll almost never find yourself coming across it with your fingers during normal use. I'm doing air quotes, by the way, normal use. It's a dream in the hand overall. And while we're on the topic of dreams, that blade, good God, what a blade it is. This M390 drop point style blade isn't just a pretty face. This thing was made to cut and slice and dice with the best of them. We've got a nice tall flat grind, a good and stabby tip thanks to the swedge, and even though this big gnarly deployment slot, it comes about 50% of the way out the length of the blade, they have not once, in my experience, gotten in the way of me destroying anything and everything I can get my hands on. The final cutting edge is exceptionally thin and has been nothing short of a dream as far as cutting performance goes, and this being M390, you won't find yourself needing to sharpen it up very often. Unless, I don't know, depends on what you do with your knife, no judgment. And even though this thing is hair-whittlingly thin at the edge, up at the spine, we're dealing with some decently hefty blade stock. So a well-rounded, rugged, and endlessly sharp and slicey piece of steel, without question. And finally, what got my credit card out of my wallet all those months ago, the action. Oh, the Nimble here, without question, without a shadow of a doubt, lives up to its name. For the fidget freaks among you, this has to be your next knife. It simply has to be. Let's start with the obvious. We've got this kind of Vero-style flipper tab at the back, and the detent is dialed in just so, making flipping this thing open good and snappy and almost impossible to fail. And if that's not enough for you, let's move on to those big old deployment slots. Thumb flicks? Yep, easy, snappy, wonderful, perfect. Reverse flicks or spidey flicks? Absolutely, no problem at all. And all three of these deployment methods absolutely feel dialed in. And all three rocket the blade out of the handle and do so with some nice satisfying clicks and clacks along the way. This is running on bearings, and damn smooth ones at that, so when you go to close the Nimble, that little 3-inch slicer comes swinging shut nice and smooth. No grit, no noise, no fuss, just a nice, controlled drop shut action on the close, and oh boy, have I fallen in love with it. Oh yeah, that's right, as if 3 near-perfect modes of actuation weren't enough for you, John went and threw front flipping on the menu. And just like the 3 other ways to play with this thing, the front flipping action works a treat. And I have to say, getting a detent dialed in to work with 1 or 2 different modes of opening and closing, it's hard enough, but to be able to get 4 different opening methods to work so well in harmony together on a knife, it's truly one hell of an achievement, and one that I applaud both John at EMPEDC and QSP Knives for. Well done to all parties involved, seriously. This has, as of the writing of this review, taken the top spot on my quote-unquote most fidget-friendly knives list, and I would be extremely surprised if something knocked it off its throne anytime soon. It's a truly miraculous action, and an action that has kept this piece in my pocket every single day since it arrived. So there you have it, the Fidgeting King, the EMPEDC Nimble, the best knife you've never heard of, the only knife I've ever pre-ordered, and the only real regret I have is not ordering both variants of it. It's seriously an immensely impressive debut design from John at EMPEDC, and it's a design that has been manufactured to some mind-blowingly flawless standards by the folks at QSP. By now, I'm sure a lot of you are dabbing tears off of your cheeks after hearing me gush about another knife that was a pre-order piece and you can't get it and blah blah blah. But my fellow knife lovers, listen up. You fucking can get this one. On July 17th of 2021, the year of our Lord, at www.empedc.com, you can just hop over and buy one for yourself. And I really cannot recommend you do this enough. Like, seriously, mark your calendars right now. This thing is too good not to sell out pretty freaking quick. And I have no idea how many John has available for this first big drop, so keep those wallets out and keep those checkout skills in tip-top shape. Pricing-wise, both variants, it looks like, will be around $279, and for any of you thinking to yourselves, I don't know, Tri-State, it kind of seems like a lot. And maybe you're right, but have you not been paying attention at all? The action is phenomenal, the fidget factor is absolutely off the scale, like, we're going to need to rewrite the fidget scale in order to measure this kind of action. The blade steel is M390, and the blade is an absolute slicing machine that will draw blood if you simply look at it the wrong way. And on top of all of that, it is beautiful to look at, and beautiful to hold and use, and beautifully machined and built. It really is my new benchmark, my new standard for frame lock actions on a knife. I guess at this point I could go on for hours and hours and hours, but you'll just have to get one in your hands to understand why I'm going on like this. So to John at EMPEDC and the folks at QSP, I applaud you. I really cannot wait to see what you've got in store for us all in the very near future. So, until next time, thank you for watching. Bye-bye now.